I've been realizing something lately. The life that people see is usually built by the life that they don't see. And we live in a world that celebrates what happens in public, the platform, the promotion, the accomplishments, the applause. But God, He's always been deeply interested in something else, the secret place, the moments where no one else is watching, the conversations that no one else hears, the thoughts that no one else knows, the choices that we'll never receive credit for. God's more interested in these things. And I've started asking myself a question: who am I when no one is looking? Because eventually, the private life always becomes the public life, no matter if you do good or you do bad. Not overnight, sometimes it takes years, but whatever you're becoming in secret will eventually reveal itself, no matter what. That's just a fundamental law of this world that we live in. Jesus said that what comes out of a person's mouth begins in the heart. He wasn't just talking about words, he was teaching a principle. Everything viable, visible, and valuable starts somewhere invisible. That's the truth of our faith. It, it's true in our marriages, it's true in our work, it's true in our character. And I've noticed how easy it is to care more about appearing faithful than actually becoming faithful. I can say the right things and post the right verses, look like I have everything together, and still neglect the quiet relationship God is inviting me into. That's a dangerous place to be because God isn't impressed by the image I'm able to create. He sees the person I'm becoming. And honestly, I'm grateful for that because if God only cared about appearances, I'd spend my whole life trying to impress Him. Instead, He invites me to be honest, to bring Him my weaknesses, my fears, my failures, my questions in life. Not because He doesn't already know them, but because healing begins where honesty begins. I've also learned that the secret place isn't only where our weaknesses are exposed, it's where our strength is built. No athlete becomes strong during the championship. The championship simply reveals the years of unseen training. No great tree becomes strong during the storm. You ever heard that? Street becoming strong during the storm? Its roots were growing long before the wind arrived. And I think faith works the same way. The difficult seasons don't usually create our relationship with God, they reveal it. I've spent time with Him before the storm, so I'll recognize His voice during the storm. If I've learned to trust Him in ordinary days, then I'll have something to stand on in the extraordinary ones. And that's why the ordinary matters so much. Prayer when no one knows, reading scripture when nobody applauds, choosing integrity when cutting corners would be easier, serving someone who can never repay you, forgiving someone who may never apologize. Those moments rarely make headlines, but heaven notices them. And I've started believing that some of the most significant moments of our lives will never be seen by another person. A quiet prayer, a quiet act of generosity, a temptation that was resisted, an apology that was offered, a decision to obey God that no one else will ever know about. Those moments shape us. Little by little, they make us into the kind of people who can be trusted with more. Sometimes we ask God for greater influence, greater opportunities, and greater responsibilities. And maybe He wants to give us those things. But first, He's teaching us to be faithful where no one is watching. Jesus once said that whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much. And I've always loved that. And it's because it reminds me that God measures success differently than we often do. He isn't asking me to be famous, He is asking me to be faithful. He isn't asking me to build an image, He's inviting me to build a life rooted deeply enough that when winds come, it still stands. I don't want my public life to become bigger than my private walk with God. I don't want people to know my name more than they know the character of Christ through my life. If that means fewer followers, but a deeper relationship with Jesus, that's a trade that I'll gladly make. Because at the end of my life, I don't think I'll care how many people watch me. I'll care whether I walked closely with him, whether I loved well, whether I stayed faithful, whether the person I was in private matched the person that people saw in public. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts and invitation that Jesus gives us, not to perform, not to pretend, not to build an image, but to meet him in the secret place, because it's there, long before anyone else sees it, that he quietly shapes the kind of life that can honor him for a lifetime. And you know it. I just appreciate you for being here, man. Thanks for coming and listening. Thanks for listening with all your ears, man. You got two of them. Hey, until the next one, peace, y'all.